We'll wait for a few minutes for a few more people. We'll get started here in a couple minutes.
I'm gonna share my screen so people know what they're, where they are and what we're doing.
Okay, we got some people coming in. We'll begin in a minute here, waiting on a few more minutes for everybody to join. Yeah, give it a couple more minutes. There's people joining.
All right, Lawrence, I'm ready to get started. You?
Yeah, let's get started, Sarah. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Galen's Growth Year, year-end 2022 North America Key Trends webinar. I'm Lawrence. I'm General Manager of North America for Galen Growth. For those of you who are not familiar with Galen Growth is the premier digital health innovation partner. We partner with major clients in major pharma, insurance companies, investors, medical device companies partner with us, healthcare systems, consulting companies, employee benefit companies, and the list goes on and on. Major corporations that partner with us. Galen Growth has a global reach. We have offices in the United States, Europe, and Asia. The report that we're going to go over today is one of our metrics that we publish monthly, and powered behind these reports that we put out every month is that it's behind these reports or powers them is our unmatched expert team of experts and the Health Tech Alpha platform, which is the world's leading digital health private market data, intel, and insight platform to industry investors and startups. We have more data on the platform than anyone else. There's over 16,000 digital health ventures on the platform. We have best in class taxonomy, excuse me, I can't speak today, and tagging, and better search results than even Google. And if you log into the platform, you'll be able to find our other research in addition to this. One of the reports that was up just before this was our global report, and the report that we'll be going into today is focusing on North America and the trends in digital health in 2022. And it's a one-of-a-kind analysis. This is a biannual report. It's based on over 600 plus pages of data and unmatched insight, free to download. During the course of the webinar, I will be posting the link to access the report in the chat. The scope of the analysis is on all digital health ventures incorporated after 2002. We're focusing on North America, but included in this report, we touched upon Asia Pac, Middle East, Western Europe, and South America as well. I have with me today Sara, who is our, yes, can you hear me?
Absolutely.
Okay, Sara is our head of research and analytics, and I'm going to pronounce your last name wrong, Sara. I had it down, and now I'm going to pronounce it right. Schmachtenberg, right? Did I say that right?
Schmachtenberg, Lawrence.
Schmachtenberg. All right. I knew I was.
Say it very German. It would be Schmachtenberg, but
yes,
we're in the North America calling.
I had it down, and then I said it wrong. I just call you Sara all the time. I never even think about last names these days. So let me introduce Sara. She's the head of research and analytics for Galen Growth globally. So Sara, welcome. And
thank you, Lawrence.
Thanks for doing this with me today. So why don't we just kind of dig right in, right? And kind of first give us kind of a high overview of the report, funding perspectives that you can give us on how North America performed, I guess, against maybe even, other regions within the world.
Yeah, let's give a bird's eye overview to start with. and that's not going to be any big surprise to everyone. I think everyone here has heard about the doom and gloom. What happened in 2022? Well, I think all the ventures have the ground back underneath their feet, no longer flying high from the 2021 crazy digital health funding that we saw. In fact, global funding is down 41% year on year from 2021. You can see here the regional numbers, right? You have North America falling 46% year on year from 38 billion down to about 21 billion. Really, that decrease was seen over Asia Pacific, the yellow bar, over North America, the orange bar. Where you did see the decrease, which was interesting, the Middle East actually increased year on year. So they stayed a bit protected from the global reduction. And then South America was hit very hard as well by the decrease in venture funding. So what we want to do today, and Lawrence, you're going to help me do this, is look into, okay, what are these numbers really talking about? Okay, everyone talks about the doom and gloom. The venture funding is gone, it's all dried up. So that's what I'm looking forward to discussing with you today, Lawrence.
Yeah, and so let's dig into that. Let's unpack that a little bit. We're hearing a lot about other regions, within the globe, that the venture funding was impacted based upon funding stage, right? And based upon the funding stage of the particular venture, there was a difference in the way that their funding was impacted. So in terms of North America funding in digital health, what funding stages felt the greatest impact in terms of funding?
That's a good question. So what you see, what we experienced is really looking at the North America funding in particular. The early stage funding was not impacted, right? You have those seed stage, pre-A stage funding, and those are really the seed, the grants. That's all still very much alive and well. So people are putting money into growing new ventures. But really, even Series A in North America, where in Europe, for example, we didn't see an impacted Series A. I think Asia Pacific was the same way. US, or North America, we started really seeing that impact of the global downturn, starting Series A and really getting worse as you get into the higher series. You didn't see the mega deals that you saw before. Really, there was an impact as you go across the funding stages. But if you look at the bar chart on the left, right, you see globally, right, the orange bar, the total global funding skyrocketed in 2021, but 2022 really maintained momentum above the pre-pandemic, right? If you compare it to 20, and my screen is here in the way. If you really compare it to 2020, right, you've surpassed by far 2020. You've even surpassed 2021, and that when you look into this different funding series, you see that as well. Really, every series is still above the 2020 funding, right? That pre-pandemic funding. So, not to panic, or excuse me, the 2019. So not to panic. It is kind of a return to reality for venture funding. We're not gonna see in the future probably those late stage dynamite deals for the late stage funding rounds, but there still is a lot of funding in the early stage ventures. There's a lot coming up in the pipeline, and there's still a lot of trust in those early stage ventures that they're gonna keep growing. So there's still confidence in digital health, but you're not gonna see the funding that you had in 2021.
So we're really kind of just returning back to normality, I guess, in a sense.
Seems that way.
Yeah. So Galen growth, we go beyond the funding. So if we were to look into a bunch of the details that matter, for example, total acquisition, digital health clusters, are there any highlights or anything that stands out?
Absolutely. And that's where Galen growth, as digital health specialists, we can really dig into understanding what's going on just in our sector. Right. If we look across different therapeutic areas, right, when we bring ventures into our platform, we tag them with any therapeutic area that they're focused on, and as well any of those or what kind of solutions they're in. Those are the digital health clusters, right? Looking across therapeutic areas, mental health, oncology, mental health took a big hit, right? That was a superstar during the pandemic where the mental health ventures, they've really fallen back down to earth. Oncology, cardiovascular didn't get hit as bad, whereas neurology was up there with mental health, and diabetes as well is really taking a hit this year for venture funding. Medical diagnostics, on the other hand, they maintain momentum, right? It's really this downturn is not across all solutions, and we did see medical diagnostics was up. Whereas patient solutions, right, the disease management apps, and actually population health management, corporate wellness, they took really big hits this year, right? So it's really interesting to understand where the money went and where it didn't go. And this really gives you a picture by therapeutic area and by digital health cluster.
That's great. So, okay, great. Another question for you is, digital health ventures need partners to reach patients, right? This is critical. Absolutely. For them. It's a critical activity. So has this activity slowed down in North America? What sector led? Who's been the most prolific in partnering in 2022?
Digital health partnering stayed about the same in North America as it did in 2021. We didn't see a real big downturn in the partnering activity at all. And what we see is those corporate partnerships that we have, 64% of the partnerships are still happening with ventures in North America and corporates. And by corporates, we mean healthcare providers, including healthcare systems, pharma companies, insurance, academia, medical device companies, associations, right? Those are all the corporate partnerships that we're talking about. And when you look at the total partnerships for a venture, right, for North America, of those total venture partnerships, 32% of the partnerships are actually venture-to-venture partnerships, right? So ventures trying to combine their solutions or help each other out, make sure that there's some sort of interoperability between the solutions, and 68% of the partnership activities with the corporates, right? So there's a lot going on outside of just the corporates, but if we dig into only the corporate partnerships between digital health ventures and the corporate partnerships, we find that 31% of those partnerships in 2002 were with healthcare providers, healthcare systems. And Lawrence, we're really in 2023, we'll dig a little bit further into those healthcare systems to understand what's going on in digital health, what kind of partnering activity are we seeing. That's just a little preview, by the way, of what's coming up. But in 2022, there was a lot of partnering activity with the healthcare providers, and second place was pharma, third place took insurance companies, right? So there's a lot going on. And as you mentioned, those partnerships are really critical for ventures to get their solutions to patients and get their solutions onto the market. There's only so much they can do by themselves. They really need these partnership activities to reach the patients and to develop really that the clinical evidence that I think we're going to talk about a little bit later today.
So you kind of just gave us a little peek to an upcoming report I'm taking out of that. At
Yeah.
both HLTH and JP Morgan, there was a lot of talk about proof points and clinical evidence and regulatory filings and all that stuff. So what does the data show us about that?
I'm glad people are talking about it because it's really critical. Digital health has reached an inflection point for maturing. And one of the indications of that is the clinical evidence, right? They're actually building the proof points to show their solutions actually have a benefit to patients and to consumers. Now, clear, not every digital health venture requires clinical evidence. And by evidence, we're talking about regulatory approvals, we're talking about clinical trials, or peer-reviewed publications, right? And looking at the digital health clusters, right, those groupings of different products, you see the top, let's see, this is top 7 clusters that require those proof points, right? We have an evidence signal in Health Tech Alpha, and that evidence signal is a measure of how much proof you have that your venture has. Again, proof points. I'm going in circles. Medical diagnostics ventures, as can be expected, they require a lot of evidence that their solutions work. And in fact, in North America, 41% of the ventures in medical diagnostics have evidence signal greater than 40. That means they have either a clinical trial under their belt or they have a regulatory approval by a global regulatory body, not just talking about FDA here, or they have more than 4 peer-reviewed publications, right? Remote devices also requires significant amount of proof points, followed by clinical trials, patient solutions, research solutions, right? So these are the top clusters for proof points. And we see that there's really a momentum building in ventures being able to generate this evidence. And as you talked about at JP Morgan, it was a topic of discussion. I think pretty much every analyst report I've read has talked about 2023 is really starting to require the clinical proof. Part of that are the regulatory filings. And in regulatory filings, we're looking at 30% of the regulatory filings in 2022 were acquired by remote ventures in remote devices, 26% in medical diagnostics, right? So that reflects a lot of the evidence signal that we were just talking about. 19% were actually in wellness. So it's there's a lot going on and a lot of ventures trying to get the proof points and the regulatory filings.
It sounds like moving forward, that's going to be important for these ventures. As far as venture funding strength, are the ventures ready for the funding drought that we seem to be facing? Do we think that they're, financially set for that?
That's a bit of a loaded question. Using the data that we have on ventures, right? It's a critical question because ventures need to have, let's say, some dry powder. They need to have funding to be able to withstand the drought that we're seeing at the moment in funding. And so we've looked at all the North American ventures, right? And analyzed when was the last time they had funding, right? When was the last time, according to their stage, because as you get up into the later funding stages, you need more funding, but it's possible you also have some income coming in. So if you're looking at the different funding stages, right? How many of them, and we look at in particular, what percent of ventures in North America raised in the last 18 months, right? That was during the pandemic period. And what we see is 47% of the early Series A ventures raised funding, 63% in the growth stage, and 71% in the late stage, right? So there are definitely a lot of ventures here that got money into their pockets and are capable of growing, right, over the next year. If we have a volume weighted average, that's only 53% though. So that means 47% of ventures are going to need funding in the next 6 to 12 months, right? And that's going to be very critical for those ventures. If we look across the globe, North America ventures were the most successful in raising funding over the last 18 months, right? Followed by Europe and Asia Pacific, where it came to the end. And what we're doing is we're going to talk about M&A here in just a second, but we're building a perfect storm, right, for M&A, because as ventures are maturing, 71% of the late stage ventures did raise funding, so they do have the cash to spend, whereas the early stage Series A ventures didn't. So you're going to be able to see a lot of the M&A, the acquisitions going on of those late stage ventures trying to improve their portfolio, increase their portfolio, either by geography or by increasing their product offering, right? And that's really this is going to be fueling a lot of that.
Okay, great. One of the other things that we've seen in 2022 is a complete drought, basically, of IPOs. Can you give us the full picture of the exit activity we've seen over 2022?
Sure. We're going to look here at the exit activity, as you mentioned, and I don't think this is going to be a surprise to anyone. We had 30 IPOs and SPACs in 2021. You have 8 in 2022, right? Valuations came crashing down. No venture wanted to put a foot onto the market in 2022, especially late 2022, because the valuations were so low. So that's quite clear. They held back and didn't go for that IPO. The ones that did happen were mostly in Q1. We were talking about mergers and acquisitions in North America, and contrary to the rest of the globe, mergers and acquisition activity did decrease as well. So there you're also seeing that reduction in valuations and ventures not wanting to take that next step because the valuations are so low.
Great.
Wait a minute, can I just add one thing there? Across the globe, if you look at the M&A, more than 60% of the acquisitions going on are actually venture to venture acquisition, right? So that's more proof points of what we were talking about earlier, of those later stage ventures having the cash to buy up the cheaper and the earlier stage ventures that are looking for, or that are running low on cash.
Okay. Well, with Galen's growth, best in class, classifications, venture products, taxonomy, we'll call it. It enables us to categorize each and every venture. Where are any of the clusters that performed well in 2022? What were the clusters that performed well in 2022? Was there anything that was down?
Yeah, we talked about that a little bit earlier, so digging
It's
into
everything
it.
down. I misstated that. Is everything down? I think the wrong words came out of my mouth. Is everything down? Or did some perform
Everything's
better
not down.
over others?
No, medical diagnostics maintained momentum in 2021, or from 2021 to 2022. So that's the good kind of shining star, let's say, of last year, powered really by the Freenome and let's see, there was one other one, other big ventures deals in medical diagnostics, right? It jumped from place 5 to place 1. Research followed by research solutions, population health management solutions, and patient solutions, right? So there was still a lot going on. That top 5 rearranged itself a little bit, but it pretty much remained the top 5 from 2021 to 2022.
Okay, so we're in February, mid-February here now. So we kicked off 2023. What's the outlook for digital health going forward?
I pull out my crystal ball and I shake it a little bit. What we skipped over and helps kind of fuel this discussion is the quarter-on-quarter funding, right? And that shows a little bit of a light at the end of the tunnel, we're hoping. And that, of course, you had the 2021 peak that came down in 2022, but what we saw was a bit of a rebound in Q4. And so far in Q1, we certainly haven't reached the Q1 of last year, because that was still on a pandemic high. But what we've seen is again, this the slope's not going negative again, right? It's maintaining momentum, if not a small uptick so far in 2023. So that's what we're looking for is really that stabilization of the funding, the return to normal that we've been talking about. And then we see a lot of the mergers and acquisitions that we talked about, really the venture to venture acquisitions, ventures building out platforms, right? Because that's been talked about as one of the biggest hurdles to digital health solutions or to patients using digital health, is that you have point solutions and there's no cohesive solution to use, right? And so we're going to see consolidation, venture to venture acquisition to consolidate, have a broader offering to a patient to actually be able to cover comorbidities or cover the patient across the patient journey. The third point that I want to bring up is really the emphasis on clinical evidence, right? And so the building of partnerships in order to get clinical trials under the belt, in order to get regulatory approvals for solutions, whether it be a digital therapeutic or a research solution, right? To start building the proof points that digital health does benefit the patient, and it has a significant impact on our healthcare systems.
Okay, well, thank you. We've got a little bit of time left here. We're running out very quickly. Is there any questions from anybody? If you have any questions, feel free to type them in the chat.
I don't think we've had any questions so far. So I think we want to encourage people. This report is available for download from our website. So go ahead and download the free report, the full report, the full 80 plus pages of information. And I think, Lawrence, you want to talk about the rest of the regional reports?
Yes, we have regional reports for the other regions of the globe, for Asia Pac, the Middle East, Europe, and South America. Did I cover all of them?
Did we get the Middle East?
Yes, I did get the Middle East. So there's reports for all of those. If you go to www.galengrowth.com and look at our reports section, you'll be able to find that all those reports, and all our other reports that we published over the course of last year are out there as well. And since there's no questions and we're running out of time quickly, thank you everybody for attending, and we look forward to seeing you next time.
Thank you very much.